Thank you very much, everyone, for joining the CurrentWare version 6.0 webinar today. We're excited to show you the newest release and our biggest update with the CurrentWare web console. On the webinar today, you've got myself, Neel Lukka, and Sai Chu, who's one of our product managers. We'll be happy to talk through the web console and answer any questions that you have at the end. We've also got other members of our team on as well who are available to help after the webinar if you have any additional questions. So from an agenda perspective, we'll give you a version 6.0 overview, give you an actual demo of the new features and the web console, talk about some of the upcoming features, and then go through a Q&A to explain how, and answer any questions that you may have related to CurrentWare and migrating to the web console. So version 6.0, we're really excited. We released it last week, and the biggest update we have so far is related to the web console. So from a web console perspective, we're really excited to have a new user interface, a new design, and a much easier way to manage CurrentWare. By going to web-based technologies, it's also giving us the opportunity to empower new reporting, new functionality that was not previously possible with CurrentWare, along with a lot of flexibility and functionality to make it easier for yourself or your clients to manage CurrentWare. So being able to log in anywhere, you don't need the actual CurrentWare Windows console installed. You can basically pull up any web browser, Google Chrome, etc., and pull up your CurrentWare administrative console. The interface, it'll feel and look a lot more like a cloud console. I'll go through that in a minute about the cloud related options. But moving to these technologies, things like search, the speed, and in the future, a lot of things related to reporting and reporting functions, it will be significantly improved by allowing us to use the web-based technologies. A lot of our customers who've seen or used the web console when it was in the beta have asked a lot about, whether this is a cloud-based console and how the cloud-based console side of things may work. So I'll just give you a bit of an overview, and if there's any specifics that you need as well, we can answer it on a case-by-case basis. So it is a cloud-enabled technology with a bring your own cloud option. So what that means is if you do want the ability to have your CurrentWare data stored in a cloud, you can choose the cloud of your choice, whether that's Azure, AWS, Google Cloud. But CurrentWare does not have access to that data. So when we call bring your own cloud, you set that up. All your data is stored in your own private cloud, and you can configure it that way. You can absolutely use the web console with your on-prem setup as well. So although it's accessed from a web-based console, it's still on-prem. We still have the same security features, et cetera, but it gives you that flexibility to choose on-prem or the bring your own cloud option. Another really exciting thing we've launched in 6.0 is letting employees see their own reports from a browse reporter perspective. So transparency is something that has come up from a lot of organizations related to how their employees are actually being productive or not, and being able to show them their productivity on demand. It's an optional feature, so you get to choose if you enable or disable that feature for your organization, and employees can see their own activity and performance to see, how they've been doing on their own productivity basis. This is a feature that's been requested by a number of our prospective clients and clients that have been with us for a number of years. So we're really excited to launch it. So I will actually show a demo of this in the demo portion of the webinar, but from a quick snapshot perspective, you can see it here where this employee can basically pull up this report on demand and see how productive they've been on that specific day or on a specific time frame. So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Sai, and Sai can take over and actually show you a demonstration of the web console and some of the other features.
Thank you so much, Neel. Hey guys, so my name is Sai. I'm the product manager here at CurrentWare. Our team has been building this product for a very long time, so I'm very excited to show you this new web console that we have. We use completely new technology to develop this new platform, just to make your life easier when you're managing your computers and users and policy when you're using CurrentWare. Now, before I jump into show you the console itself, I do want to talk about two things first. One would be the installation, and then second would be the upgrade. So if you're a brand new CurrentWare customer and you're installing CurrentWare for the first time, our installer now comes pre-built with the SQL Express. So it's going to be a one-click install, very straightforward. We'll set everything up for you, even configure the IIS so you don't have to do anything. And once you have it installed, you deploy the client, very straightforward. From the upgrade perspective, when you're upgrading from an older version like v5 to 6.0, all your data will be transferred and migrate over. And then after the server is upgraded to 6.0, it will automatically deploy the clients to upgrade the clients as well. As Neel mentioned earlier, CurrentWare is still on-prem, so we are not a SaaS product that's hosted on the cloud. All the data is still stored locally on your computer. So let's talk about what happened after you install 6.0. The way you launch the console, the web console now, is from an internet browser. So here I've got Chrome open, and I've got my computer name here with the port number 8998. That's the port that we're using. Now I can launch this web console from anywhere that the CurrentWare server is installed on that same network. So if I'm on a different computer, I no longer need to install that extra desktop console. I just go into my browser, type that in, and then it will ask you for your operator username and password that you've created in the console, either from an older version or during the install, it's going to ask you to create that first operator. Once you're able to log into the console, you're going to have access to manage all your policy. Now, what happens if you're outside the network? You can definitely use the web console as well. It just takes an extra step for you to set up port forwarding. And once that is set up properly, you will be able to access the console outside the network. And that exact same setup would be what you do for a private cloud setup. And our team is happy to help you out if you do want to pursue that type of setup. We have a lot of customers that are doing it that way. So let's go ahead and look at some of the features in the CurrentWare web console. On the left-hand side, we have all the 4 solutions with the mode toggle as well as tools and settings. This is where the main navigation is. So when you click into a solution, you're going to get that similar feel of computers right here on this list. Computers and groups, they still live over here on the left. So it's similar to the desktop console, and then your computers or users will be on the right here. We've put all the features at the very top here under these circle icons so that you can navigate to them very quickly. Now, we are still a group-based policy. So when you're applying for example, in access control, when you want to block USB, you still have to select the group first and then go here under device permission and perform your restrictions. So that is still something that we're using on the web console as well. So what I'll do now is I'll take you through some of the features you're familiar with, the most popular features of CurrentWare and of each solutions. So let's go to BrowseControl, quickly take a look at the URL filter. So here, the allow list and block list are still over here. And then we put the internet on and off button right there as a shortcut. Category filtering. This is where you can add all the categories to your block category list. And then with Browse Reporter, we've optimized the run report to look much more modern with this design. And in Power Manager, you can remotely control the power status and still shut down, restart, and boot up your computers. Okay, so those are the features that you're familiar with. What I'll do now is I'm going to show you some of the new features that we've added to version 6.0. The very first feature here is the ability to let your end users see their own user activity reports. Okay, so this is under settings, browser border, client settings, and user activity reports. So if you enable this option, and now this is a group-based option, so you can enable it on certain departments. You don't have to enable this across the board. You can pick and choose which user or computer you want to enable this to. Once it is enabled, it will show up here on the bottom right-hand corner. under the system tray, there'll be a CurrentWare client icon. You just right-click, open dashboard, and you will see the end user will see their own activities. Okay. On the left-hand side, the very first item is the dashboard. So your daily top 5 websites, top 5 applications, and then the application by hours. If you want to drill down into the details, just go into websites, and that'll show you all the websites that you browsed to and the time you spent on it, and the applications as well. So this is a very exciting feature that we launched in version 6.0. Okay. Now let's move on to the second feature that we launched in Browse Reporter. So with Browse Reporter, we've taken 4 of our most popular reports and added a group summary to the beginning of every report. So instead of just looking at individual computer or user activities, you will now get a summary of the group time spent for that entire department. And we aggregate all the computers and user under that department and put that group summary for you on the very first page. So those are some new features that we have for 6.0. And with the new web console platform, we're very excited to build even more new features, in which we will definitely talk about later on. So, let me pass it back to you, and we can continue with the second part of the webinar.
Perfect. And Sai, just while we had a couple questions just come in that we can answer live. There was one question about the HTTPS side of things. So can you just explain how the web console is secured?
Okay, perfect. So the installer comes pre-built with one of our HTTPS certificate, which is console.currentware.app. That's the domain. You can use that certificate for your local area network, or you can attach your own company certificate to the browser if you prefer. So there are 2 different ways, and we do come pre-shipped with the certificate that will help you set it up if you want. And we do have an article on this on our knowledge base, and our team is happy to help you set it up as well.
Perfect, thank you. And just because a few other questions have come in, I think we might as well just answer them while we have them live. Question just about CurrentWare's platform being available as an appliance, or is it something to install in a Windows box? So can you just explain that side of it, things?
So right now we're still a software base. It's not an appliance, and in terms of installing it on a box, that's where the private cloud would be a good solution. So if you install it on Azure or AWS or Google, that way your users can connect to that server from inside or outside the organization. It's up to you. But right now, it's not a appliance base.
Yeah, sounds good. And then question from Jay just about the client needs to be installed on the endpoints for our admins to connect to the web console. So if you could just explain how the client endpoints connect to the web console and how the reporting works. And Jay, if there's any more info you want to give us on that, but I'll let Sai kind of explain.
You don't need to install the client for the admin to connect to the web console. If you're an admin and you have CurrentWare Web Console installed, all you have to do is open up Chrome, type in the computer name of the CurrentWare server or the IP address with the port number 8998, and you'll be able to access the console. So you do not need to install the client.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sai. So a couple other questions that have come up then that we wanted to answer related to how to access the web console. So the first is, the web console is available for customers on a CurrentWare subscription. So if you're on perpetual licenses, you can add the web console to your account by migrating to a subscription. As a kind of loyalty and ability to help our current customers move over, we're giving special discounts to migrate over by June 30th. As mentioned, by going to these web technologies, there's a lot more exciting products and features that we can add to CurrentWare by making this migration. screenshotting, other things related to some new technologies that our team is exploring as well. So we're really excited about that. So if you do have a desire to learn more about the web console, we'd be glad to get you some information on how that migration would occur. And again, for current customers, I'd highly recommend doing it before June 30th, just with the discounts that are available. If you'd like a quote, you can obviously contact our operations team or your account manager, whether it was related to colleague Sandy or Anish or Lisa or Mike, whoever you're speaking to on the team would be glad to help you out. So talking about some of the upcoming features that we've obviously been quite excited about mentioning, and we've mentioned a few times today. Browse Reporter screenshotting has been really requested by a number of our customers. That'll be coming out in the mid part of this year. A lot more enhancements to reporting. We know that there's a lot more benefits that can be provided for drag and drop reporting, being less rigid in the way that we provide our reporting. So that flexibility, whether it's from the types of reports that are generated or the profiles that are developed. And then also the ability to classify categories locally on Browse Reporter. So right now it's static, where we're going to let you basically reclassify your categories. So if you want to define something as productive or not, then you can define that on a Browse Reporter perspective. So just some of the features, there's obviously a lot more that's coming out, but those are just some of the ones that we wanted to highlight today. Happy to answer some questions now. Obviously, we've had a few already, and we want to make sure that we're able to support and answer questions as they come up. If it's too technical, we'd ask that we'll set up a technical session for you and a member of our team, just so that we don't get too much in the weeds on technicalities. But let's start answering some of the questions that are coming in. And Sai is the expert here, so I'll kind of dictate the question, and then most likely Sai is going to be the one to answer. So from Kurt, please clarify login from anywhere. Is that only for the cloud-based option? Can I access my customer's system remotely if we're using on-prem? That's a great question. And I'll let Sai kind of answer how you can access the web console if you're using the on-prem version.
So in terms of logging in from anywhere, as long as you have the port forwarding set up on your customer's network, you will be able to log in remotely from outside the network as well. So, and it's not only limited to cloud. Cloud is just more convenient because you set it up on the cloud. Then it's located out on the cloud, so you can connect from any of your devices. But if you have it set up on your customer's site, it's a matter of using the public IP address or using a VPN connection to connect to that web console.
Great question. Jay was asking about what the recommended server specs, if it was hosted on Azure. I believe, Sai, we have a knowledge base article that would be able to tackle that, but do you want to just give a bit of an overview on the cloud specs?
Sure. So that depends on how many computers you are connecting to the CurrentWare server. But to be honest, we don't really require that much CPU power. Like even a computer running 2 cores, 4 gigs is enough. That's how we have it set up in some of our testing lab as well. So we'll send you that link, Jay, and we'll answer any questions that you have for us directly once we figure out your actual setup.
Great. From Shaya, will there be an instant URL allow requests for clients?
That right now, in terms of instant URL, if they have access to the console and they have their own login, operator, username, and password, you can send them a link to get to the console page. Maybe it's Browse Reporter, but after you generate the report, that link does expire within 5 minutes. So we recommend you downloading the PDF file and sending it to your end users. Or
I think they just clarified, meaning as an administrator, can I log into the web console and instantly grant access to a URL?
Oh, I see.
I'm assuming that's for BrowseControl?
Yeah, okay. So you're talking about the allow list? Yes. So that's the beauty of the web console. You're able to use your Chrome browser. You don't need to download the desktop console. You just log into the web console and change your policy on the fly. Neil,
Awesome.
I'm getting a few messages from Gordon, direct messages.
Yeah,
So maybe I can answer some of his questions.
sure.
So I don't remember seeing that in the chat. So Gordon, you asked about instructions for migrating our service to a new device ahead of upgrading. So I think you're talking about the upgrading process. There is the actual upgrade itself is very straightforward. If you've upgraded from a previous version, then it's the same experience. But if you're actually moving the server somewhere else, then we have a perfect knowledge base article that will answer that question for you, and I can send that to you directly after the webinar. I think we have one more question. So you're asking about Azure integration, if they exist. At the moment, we're not building any Azure images. In terms of setting up the private cloud with Azure, the way we would ask you to set it up is to just use a Windows virtual machine and then install CurrentWare server on top of that.
And from Shaya, Sai, I believe we have a feature coming out for end users to request a URL to be unblocked by email. Do you know when that's coming out? If you can give a bit of an overview.
Yeah, so that is the feature where if somebody is blocked from accessing a website, they can request that website to be allowed. They'll send an email to the administrator. That feature will be coming up in 6.0.1.
So 6.0.1's late June or early July.
Sorry.
Perfect. Any additional questions before we stop here? This webinar is also being recorded, so we will share it on our YouTube page as well. So Gordon has a feature request, an app integrated as an autopilot on endpoints with assigned settings. That's an interesting one, Sai, that we can probably take offline and talk through.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a configuration, and we can talk more about that offline for sure.
Perfect. Well, really appreciate everyone joining today. I think it was great that we had so many questions and ideas for ways we can continue to improve the CurrentWare suite. The web console was a really big upgrade for our team. So the development side of the company has worked very hard to get this out, and we hope everyone has a better experience using the CurrentWare web console. And we almost look at it as building blocks to allow us to obviously integrate more new technologies and add a lot more elements that have been requested by so many of our customers to the platform and make it so much easier to use. So we really appreciate all the feedback. I know our team really enjoys speaking to our customers about ideas, obviously improvements that we can always make. So thank you everyone for always sharing those ideas as well. We really appreciate the time you took today, and look forward to speaking to many of you in the future. And if there's any questions about web console from a support side or an installation side or from a sales side, feel free to reach out. Thanks, everyone.